No, I'm really. I don't want to mess up anything. I'm really glad to
No,
be on
I
here.
think you're
You
live.
know.
We're live now, and it says we're live. I have the splash page going up, and we're live in 1 minute. So in less than 1 minute. So I think we'll be
Nice.
good to go.
Racers, get ready in less than 5.
I know, right?
Oh gosh.
As
So
you're on road.
so YouTube can hear us now. I can't see anybody that's logged in yet. That's for the whole idea for doing the countdown timer for the live screen. So it says now I just logged in, so it says there's one watching. So like Kodi, if you have a secondary device, you could actually watch it on secondary device if you wanted to,
Oh,
and see
nice,
what's going
nice.
on. So in 7 seconds, it's gonna go into our splash intro, which is the graphics, and then that's 8 seconds long, and then we're live.
All right, you let us know, man.
All right. And I feel like Wayne's World. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. So go ahead, Jeff.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the weekend edition and the live video edition streaming, courtesy of yours truly, Pablo Guerrero. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, man. Another nice, rainy, blustery Sunday or Saturday out here in the PNW.
Nice. It's a whole 24 degrees and sunny up here in T.O.
Wow.
And it's a big happy Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving to all the Canadians watching. Thank God there's no CFL football this year because that just always ruins my turkey.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we got a special guest on, and I'm going to apologize to the viewers in advance. I might get pulled away with some family stuff, but Pablo has nice, soft, as we say up here, he's got silky mitts. He'll take care of the show all the way through. That's a hockey reference, and our guest is on, and you hear him chuckling in the background, and we're super stoked to have him. It's Kodi from KLN RC Cars. That's his Instagram tag, or Killin' RC Cars. I think it's awesome and creative. Welcome to the show, buddy. How's it going, Kodi?
Hey, man. Well, it's all good, man. You know, it's weird right now. I can see you guys. I feel like I'm watching a YouTube live, but I'm on. It's weird. It's really weird.
So
good,
you
man.
can see all the graphics and stuff, huh? So you can see all
No.
that.
I just see you, and I just see both of you. I'm on the phone, so
okay, I
can just see
gotcha.
both of you guys. So
Gotcha.
Nice.
it's cool. It's cool. I kind of feel weird that I'm not on the screen too, but it's all good.
It's funny. I wish you guys
It's all
could hear the sound drops that I've got. I've got all kinds of fun sound drops now.
That's awesome.
I've got the
You
Bill O'Reilly.
have to sing them, man.
Hold on,
We'll do
here
it
goes.
live. Okay. We'll do it live.
No.
It's
Do
all
it live.
YouTube magic.
I can go right
use
now.
it
Do it
imagination.
live.
It's all YouTube magic, man. Here, let me come in with a skip ad. If you ever want to lose weight,
I know, right?
Awesome. I think we haven't even talked about who Kodi is and what he's all about yet, and I think we already have our third co-host here, Pablo. I don't know,
Yeah, there
man,
you
like,
go.
this is exciting.
There you
So
go.
Kodi, man, why don't we get into this? So Pablo and you hooked up, and Pablo, as he does, he's the great fisherman on this show. He finds a lot of the good talent. One thing I'll introduce you as is monster trucks, man. Like, you've got a crazy presence on Insta. How did you and Pablo start talking, and Pabs jump in, and what are you all about in RC, bro?
So it's kind of, as far as how me and Pablo met, I think I reached out to him on Instagram, but I actually went to we had a RC Expo in January. Yeah, and the first time I ever did crawling. They had a little situation over there, and I did that, and I seen his kids in the video. I didn't know they were his until later, but they were all over it. They were going crazy, and that's kind of how I, seeing his page and kind of connecting the two. I was like, oh, that, I got a local Instagrammer over here, so that's dope. It's rare to find that, So
Nice, nice, man.
But that's how I just reached out to him. I just like to, connect with people, especially locals out here, RC community. You know how it is, like when you go to a race. It's just good to, have people that can help you or kind of, kind of lead you when you don't know what you're doing or whatever. But, as far as Instagram, it's cool to like connect with people that are kind of doing the same thing. So that's as far as that goes. But with the monster trucks, man, it's kind of a long story. I don't know if you have time.
That's what this is all about, brother.
Yeah,
So
man.
I mean,
Go ahead, buddy.
I wouldn't consider myself an expert. I just maybe more a fanatic. There's a lot of guys that have done the RC, RC monster truck game a lot more in depth. I just watched that the podcast with CCX with Tony with Hepminski Hobbies.
oh yeah,
Kevin.
yeah. I haven't seen that one
That
yet. I
guy's
haven't had a
the
chance.
OG, man.
Yeah.
Guys like that, Josh Rhodes, over the Trigger King. I mean, there's so many guys that I look up to, that kind of inspired me to do this. So I guess it kind of goes back to my car obsession. Just even getting into RCs. I've had a car in my hand since I was a baby, and for some reason been the only one in my family. Come from a musical family. Everybody does music. Everybody sings, and I'm a musician too. But I'm the only one in the family that is a car nut. It's weird.
There's got to be a crazy one in every family. Right? That's why
right.
That's why we're united here today, buddy.
I have the sickness. Definitely have the sickness, and so. And weird story about that is my dad he was a touring musician and all that, and when I was really young is how I found out. He told me I figured out 2 and 2 why I am obsessed with cars. Well, when I was a baby, while he was making music and practicing or whatever, he would actually sit me in the car seat in front of NASCAR and watch me watch it because I would actually react to the cars. I never knew that for like 30 years. Like, why do I love cars? But he implanted the seeds in me, and he's not even into cars. It's weird.
So now, do you fall asleep when you watch NASCAR?
I can't even watch NASCAR. So, the last NASCAR I ever watched was Ricky Bobby.
So here's the funny little trivia about me, right? So I failed Spanish. Like Spanish 1, I probably failed Spanish 1, 2, or 3 times. And my grandparents when they were around, used to speak fluent. It was first language in the house. I mean, they spoke perfect English, but they just spoke in Spanish.
Yeah.
Every time I went to Spanish class, I would start to doze off instantly. I mean, it was like instant. Yeah. I'd start to doze off. And so in college, I tried it again, and they're like, yeah, I was like, I just can't stay awake. I'll sit in the front row, all this kind of stuff, could not stay awake. Mm-hmm. And then I needed to take it to graduate, right? And so I was like, look, dude, I've got to take this like crazy immersion Spanish class, which was 8 hours a day, just in the summer, all Spanish. And I asked the professor, I was like, what's going on? And he starts asking me all these questions, and he's like, did your grandma speak to you and sing to you in Spanish when you were a baby? And I was like, I don't know. So I asked, and she's like, oh yeah, I used to do that to you to fall asleep. And so it's like hypnotizing, man. So like every time now I hear Spanish, I start to doze off, and it's like I'm out.
Oh,
so it's so funny.
That was the vacuum cleaner, right?
Oh yeah, for reals. Yeah, for reals. So.
Yeah, no, I'm not really I appreciate all motorsports. I'm a motorsport nut. I love them all, but that's just one. There's a few I can't like really get up to watch. Even though this story's kind of going where that was part of the story as far as waiting for monster trucks to come on. That was on drag racing, motocross. So I've been exposed to a lot of different motorsports, waiting for monster trucks to come on, because once that hit, Bigfoot existed. It was a wrap. I mean, all the toys, all the commercials. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember all that. It was, the iPhone. What I mean? Like monster trucks. It was crazy.
That was one of my first toy monster trucks that I remember. Is the Bigfoot that had the shifter on the back? It had like 2 or 3 shifters. Yeah. I don't remember if that was Tonka or Stomper or whatnot. But it had the 3 shifters on the back. I had that one, and I had the Orange Blossom Express. And then they had the unlicensed RC car that was basically Bigfoot, but didn't say Bigfoot on the side. And I remember that. I think it was a Radio Shack or Fredericks or one of those.
Shack, man.
One of those
had some name like Largefoot or something. Larger than average foot.
I know.
Man, those Stomper cars, bro. That was life though.
Oh, I know.
Remember
I
the
know.
stompers, bro?
Yep.
That was life.
Yep. And back in the day, that's when people used to be all crazy about saving cans. My grandma was like a nut about saving pop cans, and she was hardcore about like her diet Pepsi, right? So I would take diet Pepsi pop cans, line them up, and crush them. I'd
Yeah.
pack dirt around them and crush them, all that kind of stuff. Totally remember those days, dude.
I think
Well,
my
go
first
ahead,
time
go
with monster trucks was my dad took me to Monster Jam up here at Skydome, which is where the Jays play. It's like the massive
dope.
concrete tomb of a baseball stadium. And I just remember being about 10, and it was just blowing away. And we got to go down into the infield later, and it was when Bigfoot, and I don't know what version it was, but you remember the wheels, the massive wheels.
Bigfoot 8 or 5.
Bigfoot 5.
That's right.
That's why we have Cody on the show.
I know, right? I'm like 8, 5,
I
whatever.
remember like standing in them with the hands up, right? And I just remember being blown away about how that actually worked. Like, what is the engineering behind this thing, man? That it actually moves. Because as an 11-year-old, never mind as a fully grown man, as an 11-year-old, come on, it's like looking at an alien.
I'm a little jealous you got to see that in real life at a young age,
Yeah.
I mean, that just to see monster trucks at a young age is
Yeah.
probably one of the greatest things.
Still ringing.
What? What'd you say? I can't hear you. What happened? What?
Holy moly, man.
Oh, man. Yeah. No. So, I mean, like I said, this is the story is kind of long and boring and in depth, but it incorporates every form of motorsports you can think of, and it all leads up to monster trucks. Like I said, I've had a car in my hand since I was a baby, even though I was surrounded by musicians. I learned how to walk on an airplane. That's how much I was on the road with my parents. They were musicians, so I was never home. I've been all over the world as a baby, but I was just all obsessed with cars. But mostly trucks, at a young age. And yeah, dude, when Bigfoot came out, it was a wrap. I was just obsessed with the whole training process. I think we all the car guys that are my age or maybe a little younger or older all understand this. You had your usual suspects. You had Knight Rider.
Oh yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard, right?
Airwolf.
Airwolf.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right?
So
yeah.
that was the seeds was planted right there to give you the sickness, So even though it wasn't trucks or whatever, it still was like, A-Team. Can't forget the A-Team.
Oh yeah.
I think you had. I love it when a plan comes together. I think you had Area 51. And then you had Area 52, and it was an equal conspiracy to implant these seeds into the heads of young men and maybe young women everywhere. And it didn't go as well as the Area 51 thing, but look what it did to some of us, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Insane.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you had that whole thing. Then they started televising. So Bigfoot got created. They started televising it. You had all the toys and all that, So, and I'm probably skipping a whole bunch, but basically I just sit every Saturday morning. I think it was, I don't remember what channel it was, but it came on after wrestling. So, kind of a WWF nut too, so just cause I'm waiting for monster trucks.
Yep.
And just anything monster trucks, man. I just love it, and kind of got exposed to RC kind of like everyone else. Just as a kid, you get the Toys R Us ones, you get the Radio Shack ones, and being a car nut, I just want anything. I don't care, just as long as it don't got a wire on it.
Right.
Well, see, I was gonna jump in there, Cody, because I got to jump, guys. I've been on the wife's. There's stuff going on here, but I'm gonna let you guys keep going, and I'm excited to listen to the rest. But before I go. Yeah. With the wires, even those, man, I remember chasing that down the street, every 3 feet. Like,
oh, gosh.
But so when I discovered wireless, and maybe this is a nice segue into you guys talking about RC a bit more.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was like, getting your license.
Oh,
at, 8 years old, right? So listen,
the dog.
Boys. Yeah, I hate to jump. I gotta go. Family calls first.
Cool.
I'll listen, Pabs. We'll connect later. Cody, thanks for your patience, and have a great show with Pablo.
It's
man.
all
you guys
good.
Are awesome. So
all right,
and we'll have you on again, and I'll promise we'll talk more, buddy.
No, I can't wait, man.
All right, take it easy,
care,
Jeff.
Boys. All right, guys.
All right.
Take care.
Later.
But
all right, so let me see if I can get these screens squared away now. So hold up a second. Okay, there we go. And let me get rid of that one. All right, so there's my big mug on the screen. Fantastic. So, all right. All right. So, yeah, man. So let's talk more about these. Like, I want to get into, and what I'm doing right now is I'm actually flashing up images of like vintage toys and vintage monster trucks on
dope.
on
Dope,
YouTube.
dope.
So, like right now, I'm about to throw up. Where'd it go? Hold on. Did I hit the wrong button? Let's see, Safari. There it is. So right now I'm looking at like all these old, I would say circa 85 monster trucks, you know, the solid frame. When they, like back in the day before they were jumpers and when they were crushers, you know what I mean? I'm looking at like the Virginian Giant and like Goliath and the Stomper truck, all that kind of stuff. And like that was so formative to me back in those days on how like I remember, so we talked offline before about the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I remember the Kingdom being like, I remember going there every year with my grandpa, and we'd drive his truck down there and park in like our little secret parking spot, and then go in and watch. Back then, it was more than just like Monster Jams. Like for a while, it felt like it was just monster trucks, right? Like just and you know they were kind of going crazy with it, and then they started bringing in like the what's it called, the other series where
the mud box, the tractors. Like it was an exhibition for sure when it was first like introduced. It was just like look at me crush a car, right? And
right. Well, what I'm talking about is like when Monster Jam quote unquote started. Like before it had like this is ushering out of the USHAR or USHRA era. Yeah. So like when Monster Jam first started, it was like just kind of almost Chicago style, and then they had freestyle, right? And that took away a little bit for me because when it was back in the day, where it was like mud bogs, like you said, sand drags. They had tractor pull. They had the what's it called? They had Spanky Spangler and all those kind of guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that was a show, man.
Like get Spanky, man. Oh my gosh, that's so great.
Yeah, I mean those were shows, you know, and it was cool because I think what you saw is you saw the guy who had this crazy truck that didn't necessarily travel the states with this truck. You know what I mean? And it was more of like, I'm coming from Cedro Woolley and I'm bringing my, you know, or what's it called? The High Five Jeep or whatever it was. That was.
High Five. They had the you know what the local out here in Washington was Super Pete.
Super Pete,
the semi truck.
Yeah, well, they had High Five. He had Super Pete and High Five. High Five, I think.
Oh, it's the same guy.
I'm not sure, but I thought the High Five Jeep was from Renton. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
I just watched it on TV, man. I mean, I was kind of. I've only I haven't been to a lot of monster truck shows back in the day, more current, but I just got to watch that on TV, so. You know, and I didn't put two and two together. I just was amazed. It didn't matter to me. You know what I mean? I owned it. I was just like, you know, this is so great. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's cool, man. So what's your, you posted something a couple days ago about like your favorite style of racing. And so
the TNT versus Monster Jam.
Right. So explain to those who don't know, who probably know what you would be talking about if they saw it, but that don't know what the difference is or what the difference was.
Well, so I posted. I mean, you're an Instagrammer, so you know it's great to like interact with the people and the people that follow you and all that. And I noticed a lot of the people that do follow me are they're kind of like me, you know, so it's like see, you know, their comments and their stories on some of the posts that I make, you know, especially if you word it a certain way. And I wanted to see, you know, I love Monster Jam. I love TNT. I love, you know, the difference between them. And to answer your question, I guess the difference is, you know, the TNT or the TNN early days when they started, you know, the stage 2 trucks, they started getting faster, but they still were, you know, leaf sprung. But, you know, they were a lot tougher, a little bit lighter than they were before, and so they were able to drag race them over the
Right.
cars. And then, when the Stage 3 trucks came out, which is what I'm obsessed with, with Bigfoot 8 and the early Carolina Crusher and Barefoot and all that, Taurus.
Right. Right.
When that happened, then they started being able to go even, fly even, go even crazier. The drag racing became so much more intense. So then they televised that. So that kind of what was monster truck racing back in the day. And then, like you said, Monster Jam existed back then. It was more like the stadium show.
Right.
And the TNN was more outdoor, the fairground stuff. And the difference being, like the current Monster Jam, right? Like they still do the racing, but they add so much other stuff, kind of like what you were talking about, right? Like the showcasing, right? Like you got the freestyle still. They got the what are the little 4-wheelers and the side by sides and all that, which is cool. I think it's great,
And, see, to me, that stuff kind of takes away from the Monster Jam or the Monster Truck experience. You know what I mean? Because I remember, so like I remember back in the day where we had, like I was saying, the spectacle shows. They had some like motocross stuff, but it was like super small.
It was like filler. It was like filler. It's like intermission.
Right. It wasn't, and that's maybe for a younger generation, they probably wouldn't feel that way about Monster Jam with this stuff. But for my generation, I feel like that was always filler. Like if I want to see Supercross, I'm going to go see Supercross. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, I think too, because we came up when it was raw and they were trying to figure out production-wise how to do it. Like they just streamlined it with the Monster Jam, and they don't even allow you to feel an intermission. It's just part of the show, So I get it. You know what I mean? And I think if we were 10 years old watching Monster Jam and watching Dennis and Tom Mintz, coming up that way to how a lot of guys, that was their childhood. They don't even know TNN.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They had a few comments that said that, they weren't even alive when TNN was out, and that's kind of makes me feel nice and spry.
Right. No, for real.
I mean? It's
right, for
wow,
real.
I don't even feel that old, but that was a long time ago.
I know. And it's crazy when you look at the progression. So, like, when I look at the progression of racing or monster trucks, the first, like, and I'll try to pull up some images here that kind of support what I'm talking about. So, like, the first style that I think of are, like, the monster trucks that would just be crushers, right? And so they had a stack of cars that had glass in them still. They weren't crushed down yet. They didn't even have dirt ramps on them yet. And they would just kind of go over and do, I wouldn't call it a slap wheelie, but, a pop wheelie or whatever, and just kind of pop over. And that was like amazing back in the day, right? And then it went,
oh God,
and then it went to like the more drag race style, which was super dope. And then from there it went to the thing I remember that I loved the most was watching the drag races that had a tractor pull. So it was the tractor pull.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
So it'd tractor pull for the first leg. They'd unhook. They'd have to take the turn. And then they would go and do the car crush. And then that would be the end of it. At the end of that.
Have you seen the Trigger King guys do that?
I have not.
Oh, man. Their YouTube is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I've been following them. Before I got my SMT10, I was obsessed with their channel, man. And talking to Doug, he's kind of the head of the program. Once I got my truck, but I was obsessed with their channel, and that really kind of pushed me over to get an SMT10 once they started getting them and doing. But they had a few races. They like to do all the, they were racing at the headquarters of Bigfoot. I don't know if they still do now, but they're amongst the history and what I mean. That was the original monster truck. So they're the experts. I'm just a fan from the outside, and I just know from what I seen and what I was exposed to, what I know. I had to, do my fact checking and Google searching, myself to really, know if something comes up. Like, it was an instance where we were talking about, I think it was a snake bite in the comments on my page, and I knew it was Bigfoot 8 and Bigfoot 10. I didn't know that because I knew, Bigfoot 9 got stuck over in Brazil. I knew that, and everybody knows that. But there was a thing where it actually raced in the TNN series for a little bit. I didn't know that as a
Oh,
snake
okay.
bite.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I didn't, and I didn't know that, and I got fact checked by some guys that knew, and it was cool because I love Bigfoot 9. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? I
right,
was
right.
sad that it got stuck over in Brazil. So, stuff like that. It's cool to just interact. As far as with the. I know we're going all. I'm
Oh,
going
no,
all
no,
over the
that's
place,
totally
man.
fine,
But
man.
I'm just trying to answer the original question, and then we kind of go off on tangents when we get excited. You know what I'm saying? Like this stuff is so exciting. I love it.
Oh, yeah, for real.
Um,
So, like, going back to that style of racing, right? So I'm just trying to
yeah,
lay
yeah,
out, I'm
yeah.
trying to paint a picture for the people that don't know, right? So it's like
Got it.
crushers, it's like the straight line drag racing, then it goes into like this tractor pull, and then you have the
Yep,
left
yep,
turn or whatever, right turn.
yep,
And then we start getting a little bit faster, right? So then we start
yep, yep.
doing more straight line, and they're starting to jump a couple cars, kind of a thing. And then that's
Mm-hmm.
when it goes into kind of like that TNN style, I think is what I'm talking about, where it's like where they're on
Mm-hmm.
a super speedway or they're outdoors at a
Oh, the figure eight. Yeah, the figure eight,
yeah,
or yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
or it's like they're at a state fairgrounds, and they have like
Fairground.
the long shot where it's like one hump that's pretty fast, and then like one big jump at the end, kind of a thing. And
Sometimes they'd have like three
right,
jumps.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and then it
yeah.
went from that, and then from there, it kind of Monster Jam developed, right? And so, and I think what people don't realize is that back in the day, before Monster Jam, what people used to do for freestyle, if they won, they would come up and just tear it up. You know what I mean? That was the
Well,
Monster Jam.
from what I remember, and correct me, fact check me, guys, if I'm wrong, but what I remember, they actually had a section in the stadium shows
Hmm.
that was a actual freestyle.
I kind of
But
remember
I
that.
think what made Monster Jam freestyle was when Dennis Anderson would lose and just go berserk.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Right? Like
Yep.
he would just go crazy. And and plus his runs were like a freestyle anyway.
Oh yeah.
Dennis Anderson, and even with the leaf spring truck, like his nickname was one run Anderson, like he'd just go all out and break the truck, every single time. So
Oh
but
yeah.
that's what made Gravedigger so popular,
Oh yeah.
back, even what it is today. But I mean, I could be wrong about that, but I believe back in the stadium shows when it was USHRA, they actually had a freestyle section. But and what you're saying is true. But I just remember Dennis Anderson, when every time he lost, would go nuts
Oh yeah.
just for the fans.
Oh
It
yeah.
wasn't that he was mad. It's just want to give the fans a show because he's not going to come back. So he's like, hey, let me give him something to remember, and
Right.
I appreciated it.
Oh yeah. Well, that used to
Yeah.
be that was like, it was Gravedigger and Bigfoot, right? For a while, that's what it
Oh yeah.
was. Like that was the pinnacle of monster trucks, was Gravedigger and Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Like,
yep.
and
Those are the grandpas, man.
oh yeah, oh yeah, for real. Yep. And I remember just being like, yeah, buddy. I remember watching all that stuff and just I loved the, that was like kind of the pre-Mints Gravedigger kind of style. You know what I mean? Like that was
Yeah.
the what's it called, the good versus evil kind of a thing, I guess.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't really look at Gravedigger as evil, but you know what I mean. It was kind of the dark horse. Kind of idea.
I actually did.
For
It's
real?
weird. Oh yeah. And when you're sitting there watching WWE waiting for monster trucks to come on, or WWF back then,
Right.
and that whole that's a whole nother situation. But as a kid, you're trained kind of like to thinking good versus evil. You
Sure.
know what I mean? And
Oh
like,
yeah.
and not that I guess maybe not that I thought just because Gravedigger had this big skull, is an evil looking truck, so it automatically takes on that persona, even though it was the wildest truck and it was doing the coolest stuff.
Right.
It was it was kind of like you almost like WWF or WWE. I'll just keep it what the current one is. You villainize, or you make somebody a hero in your mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
and just you didn't, as a kid, you don't really understand what's going on. You don't know anything. You're just amazed by just new, and
Right.
even like for me, just waiting for monster trucks to come on, and just when Bigfoot was the only truck, and he was doing this, the you know, going out in the water and doing the hill climbs, and you know, doing the car crush showcase and being in movies and stuff like that. When he was the only truck, it was just like, all right, what is this? This is insane.
Right.
And so it didn't even matter. It just more. Give me more.
Yeah.
You know, we got
Yep.
we got cookies, more cookies. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
more pizza, whatever you want to do. You like, it was. So for me, and I think a lot of the car guys that I know, that and just people in general, like, I always say this, man. You know, as far as with the RC monster truck thing, I always say this. It's just monster trucks, and, you know, who doesn't like monster trucks?
Oh, I know, right?
Like, I don't. It's like it literally is like the pizza of RCs. Like,
Yep,
you know what I mean?
yep,
Like,
yep.
it's just good no matter what. It don't matter.
Yep.
So that's, you know, it's funny when I was building my art, you know, going off a little bit, but when I was building starting my IG page, and we can go in on this, I guess, if you got to, you know, transition or whatever. But
Oh yeah.
that was one of the things I found out was I do everything in RC.
Yeah.
You know, I've raced, I do off road, I do drifting, I do everything. I was posting kind of everything, and guess what took off?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
As you can see by the page.
Yep.
I mean, it was weird. I wasn't expecting it. I love monster trucks.
I remember when
I've
I
always
first
loved it.
came across your page, I was like, who is this guy running over his RC cars? Because I remember seeing your like RC cars that still had the chassis underneath them, and I'm like, okay, running over a body's one thing, but like a full
Yeah.
RC car, what's this guy doing? Like,
Well, they kept moving. That's why I put them I kept them on the frame, because I'd hit the cars, I'd hit the body, and they would move.
right.
So I was like, oh, this is the only way to keep them from moving.
Yep.
Is to leave them on the frame. And plus, I was still like I was drifting, and I was still doing racing. So, you know, I just grabbed the car, and we're just sitting on the shelf. So I just grab them and throw them outside.
Yep. It's funny
You
because
know,
I'm watching one of them right now. That was kind of the grease the landing, you know, back in the day kind of a thing. And it was, you just went off a Porsche and jumped over another car. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, man, I mean, so here, let's kind of get back into your theme builds, right? Because
Got
the
it.
theme builds are pretty dope. Like, and that's, to me, that's what I like about about what I do with the RC cars, is that I follow a theme, and when you can stick it all the way through, it makes it so much more fun. You know what I mean? When you can just see all the little details, and all, you know, especially like with the body and stuff, you know, that's pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now I'm looking at one of your ground pounders that you had, and you know, you're showing different things, that your shocks and setup and that kind of thing. I'm way back.
Yeah.
I'm way back in 19.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just kind of scrolling around. But, you know, like, that was kind of when I built, so my first monster truck build, RC wise, well, I should say as an adult, was this SMT10 that I got, right? And
Gotcha, yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it. But the problem is that I was kind of torn, because I didn't know where I was going to go with it. You know, I was like, oh man, do I go with like a monster truck style, like, you know, like the real ones, or do I make my own?
It's tough because it's got the you know, the two frame chassis, which is what makes it awesome, right?
Right.
We've never had a truck like this, and I've heard your story about the Cloudbuster. I know
Oh
all
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
you
my
know,
Eleanor, man.
that even
That's my
takes it back.
Eleanor.
Like what got us started in this? Man, I was obsessed with I loved who didn't love the Cloudbuster, right? Like,
Right.
you grow up seeing all these kids like in the neighborhood with like Lunchbox and the Blackfoot, and you know, you hear the same usual suspects every time anybody does any kind of podcast or interview, whatever. It's always those guys. It's Tamiya trucks, right?
Right.
And then when the Cloudbuster came out, I don't know. You remember that one called a High Roller?
Oh yeah.
That red one? Yeah.
Yep.
You had the Bruiser. I mean, we talked about this offline before, but I'm just saying, like, that you've seen this stuff at 8 years old or whatever.
Oh yeah.
You're like, he's the size of it, right? It's
dude.
I can almost ride this thing. What is going on? You know?
Yep. And like right now, I'm
and-
pulling up pictures of like the Clodbuster that not the clodbuster, but like of a clodbuster that
Yeah.
would totally remind me of back in the day where it's like, 3 shocks per wheel.
Oh gosh.
Like all the chrome and all that kind of stuff you
Yeah, the
could
chrome
handle.
chassis,
Oh
and it's just
yeah.
super high and it's
Yep.
super unrealistic. And I
Yeah.
think I loved the Clodbuster, and when guys started doing like when the Stage 3 trucks came out, right? That's my obsession. When
Sure.
Bigfoot 8 came out as a tube, the tube frame chassis, nitrogen charged shocks, it was a wrap for me. I was
Right.
so obsessed with that.
Right.
I love suspension. I was obsessed with Baja trucks and the trophy trucks, and I just, for whatever reason, the suspension engineering like gets me. I just
Right.
am so intrigued by that. So when Bigfoot came out, I was done.
Right.
And then when Taurus, Barefoot, Carolina Crusher, um, Gravedigger, when they went Stage 3, I was like, oh my gosh, oh my, I was done.
Yep.
But the Clodbuster to me, like, guys would do tube chassis back in the day. I was obsessed with car action,
Right.
RC car action, and looking at the Reader's Rides, because that's where you see the coolest stuff.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure.
Oh man, and I remember this one guy did a Bigfoot 8
Yeah.
out of a Clodbuster, but he did a tube chassis with the front cantilever suspension, where
Oh,
how
dope. Yeah.
how the shocks are mounted on Bigfoot 8. They're
yeah.
weird.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my gosh, and I just never understood cantilever suspension, because you never saw any shots of how it actually worked.
Right. Right.
Like, so I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, but it's so cool. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I was just talking to Barry on the gram last night about Bigfoot 8, Bigfoot 9, how it just looked like nothing was connected.
Right. And it looked like it was going to break at any time when it landed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you would see guys with tubers, we call them tubers, that were just identical replicas of Bigfoot 8. Ever since then, I'm like, oh my gosh, Clodbuster. But as we all end up, we end up with 13 Stampedes and Rustlers. And,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that's just what happens. And, Clodbuster, for whatever reason, it stood the test of time, has always been there. But I've never, to be honest, never wanted to build one.
For reals?
As much as I love it, and it shaped my childhood RC wise, because it's not scale. The biggest gripe behind it is the MOA axles. The shafty thing that gets me, because it's scale, right?
Right.
Even though they kind of watered down the chassis on the SMT, kind of the RC it out, I call it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Make it more. But as great as you can make the Clodbuster look, the way that the 4-links are linked up, even with that new 4-link that they got now, where it's way high on the axle.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, even before then, when the guys were doing it the other way, it just never looked scale, the way the 4-links mounted up, and just drove me crazy.
You know what's interesting? I think what it is too is all the plastic between the body and the axles too. Like that's.
Yeah,
that's the hard thing. And I think the Clodbuster, I don't know time-wise where it landed before like the Bruiser and all that. I think the Bruiser was older than the Clodbuster, but I'm not sure. Because the Bruiser was
not sure either.
The Bruiser was like, to me, like the first crazy scale truck, right? Like and I'm sure
that
there's
was the first one for sure.
And there's ones that I'm sure that I don't know about, but that's the one that I identify with and I remember. But that's the thing with the Clodbuster, is that it's like, it was kind of bridging that gap of being a crazy, like, toy, but still hobby grade model kind of a thing. You know what I mean? It was. It was totally
Clodbuster
weird.
To me, bro. And I don't know if anybody will agree with me. Maybe somebody can fact check me. To me, the Clodbuster is the #1 selling, longest lasting. You can buy it, the same one, brand new today, that you could back in the day. What other RC has lasted this long?
Oh, I know.
That never went discontinued.
Yeah.
That has always been around since day one and is still selling.
Yeah.
Which I don't know another RC. That's the number one to me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
well,
Maybe there's another one, but
and that I think the Cloudbuster has kind of lasted. Like there's been the Blackfoots and trucks like that, but the Blackfoot went away for a long time.
that's what I'm saying. The Cloudbuster
Yeah.
never left.
Right.
It
right.
never left. You could get the same one that you could get back in the day, in the '80s, whenever it came out. I think in '86 or '88, I don't even remember when it came out, but maybe it's earlier than that.
So
The same one you could get there, you could get today. It's crazy.
right. So here's a question I have, and I asked Tony this from CCXRC. So if you guys are listening and you don't know who that is, and we're talking monster trucks, you got to go check out his
That's a monster
content.
truck OG right there.
Oh, yeah,
RC
man.
monster truck OG right there.
So-
he really he's one of the other ones that got me.
Oh,
wanting to
yeah.
jump in this game.
Oh, dude. Yeah, for sure. So I asked him, and he said I would have a blast with it, but like, it's kind of like my my red Corvette. I don't have a red Corvette. I'm not midlife crisis yet, but it's like, I think I want to get a Cloudbuster for Christmas so I can build it and play with it.
Yeah.
But the problem that I have with it is I don't know if that would be like a shelf queen, right? Like.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted one. I know I could, do a cool build on it, but it's like when you're building a Cloudbuster, you either build it bone stock or you kind of go the other way with it, right?
You go full mod.
Yeah.
Full 6-turn motor mod craziness.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And so like the thing is, and it's so big, it's like, well, it's not terribly big, but you know what I mean? It takes up a lot of real estate. And I'm wondering, is that something that I get and it's literally just a shelf queen that just like sits on the back of the shelf and I go and play with it once every 2 months?
You know what? How many RCs that you do that with right now that you weren't planning on doing that with?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So, okay, so the way we have our RC collection is we have one per purpose, right? So
Yeah, gotcha.
With exception of me, I have a couple like cross-purpose ones. So like I have one crawler. My son has one crawler. My daughter has one crawler. I have one monster truck. My son has one monster truck. My daughter's not into monster trucks too much, but she's into drift cars. So she's got one drift car. I got one drift car. I got one Slash. They all have one Slash. Like, you know what I mean? Like the only kind of like outlier is the Wendigo. And the Wendigo, I use that as a like a trail truck. Like it's just it's like a long. So that one's my long distance hike truck. So because it's got
that looks like a good basher too, though.
It can be, yeah. I changed the motor on it. I put the motor out of my Wendigo, which is like a 3300 hobby wing essentially from Red Cat. I put that in my SMT10, and that thing launches. It is for some reason it is so fast on 3S. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so on the Wendigo, it's kind of weird. Like I don't want to be like talk bad about the Wendigo, but I put a motor system in that's way too nice to put in a Wendigo. I put I put the Axe 3300 550 can system in that truck, and so I can crawl anything. I can go pretty fast. I run that on 3S, but that truck, and since it's got 2.2s on it, I can go anywhere. So I'll literally go on I'll go on a 6-mile hike with that truck, and nothing gets in its way. Now if I'm taking like video, that truck doesn't do super well on video. Like it's not it's cool, but it's like it's kind of like watching a Wraith on video. It's like
it's hard, dude. Like video is such a hard. Like that's one thing I learned with doing the Instagram. It's like so many RC people like just film their car, but you got to film it a certain way for it to capture the essence of whatever vehicle it is, right?
Well, you kind of have
got to get down low.
Yeah, and you kind of have to tell a story. So like with a story without actually laying it out. So like for instance, if you like some of my crawling videos, you'll see how I'm fighting for traction, right? Or I'm like fighting to actually get something, or like I might be bumping or something like that. A 15-second video of me trying to fight for traction versus just kind of driving over everything is probably more compelling. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's more left for like if you're advertising.
Right.
Here it is.
Right. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's not really a cinematic, look at look how cool this thing is. It's more
Right.
of like, no, I get it. I was gonna say as you were talking is like, well, you use that for your hike stuff. Well, honestly, a clodbuster would do the same thing.
You think it would get that distance though? I mean, I don't want to be carrying, 10 packs with me. That's the problem, right?
Well, just get a 7,500.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you get a big old pack, man. It's all good.
Right.
Or go actual twin ESCs and twin batteries and all that. So you can just, I'm just saying, like, I feel weird not having a clodbuster, being a RC monster truck guy.
Right.
I feel weird. Like, I really want to get one, but I feel like I'm not gonna use it just because of my kind of disdain for it not being scale. I see the guys at Trigger King. That's the go-to mod setup.
Right.
You know, and I don't understand with the plastic axles how they're able to jump it so high and have that much power going, and they're not snapping everything. I don't understand. But you got double of everything. I guess you kind of doubling up. You're reducing your risk, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
It's crazy how insanely fast, like Josh Rhodes, man. His Gravedigger and his builds are so crazy. I don't know if you've seen him. You got to go on Trigger King YouTube or his YouTube. Dude, it's crazy. And I'm like, me going through the whole racing thing, I understand now, like maintenance and not overpowering the car. Like I tell people all the time, and they ask me questions. What do I run? And I like my stuff slightly underpowered. You know what I mean?
Right.
I like it because I want to be able to drive and not work on it every time I turn it on. Because that's what was happening.
So that's what I'm having a hard time with right now on with the ground pounder, right? So.
Oh man.
That thing, it's like every time
that guy.
Every time I go out. So yesterday, my son wanted to go out for a few, right? So we got some cool video, but what was it? The rod end on it got all, it's too soft, so it popped off, and that's what happened last week or whatever. So I put a new rod end on it, and we go driving it, and then what happens? It snaps the thread right off the rod end, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, so that's killing me, right? And it's like it seems like one thing after another is happening with that truck, and it's like I almost feel like I feel like the Clodbuster might be similar to that, where it was designed for a certain time frame, and now we're putting way better technology into this time frame, and it's probably not going to hold up the way I want it to, unless I put a ton of money into it. And then if I did that, the Clodbuster is like what, $350 or something like that right now, $300.
Yeah.
I could buy the SMT10 kit for $200.
Oh yeah, the Gravedigger. Yeah.
Put a couple hundred, put 200 more bucks into it, and have a
but then you don't have a Clod still.
I know. So
what are you gonna do, right?
Yep.
And with that case of what you're talking about, the whole thing. Let's look at reality, right? Like everybody has problems with RCs because they overpower their cars.
Right.
And when you overpower anything, you can't drive it, which then you're gonna crash and break, right? Every time. Now let's as far as reality goes, let's look at monster trucks. Before recently, like within the last maybe 5 or 10 years with the Monster Jam truck, if they jumped, they broke.
Right.
And these are monster trucks, right? They're the most delicate, custom vehicle out there. They just break. You look at them and they break.
Right.
So why wouldn't that happen on the 10th scale? It's gonna happen. That's why you have to kind of know. Like when I first built my first SMT10, I put I made the Bigfoot 8. I don't know if you've seen that one. The blue one with the Bigfoot 8. That was and I've always loved that truck. I always wanted to make that, and I was so excited to get that one finished. And I put a custom cantilever suspension on the back. I had the hot racing shocks on there. I just wanted it to look as good as possible, even though the frame wasn't the same.
Is that the one that's based off the ground pounder?
No, this is earlier. This is off the SMT10.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
so what I was gonna say is I put a 13 turn brushless system in that thing, and it got up pretty good. It was one of my racing touring car setups.
Okay.
Yeah, I just had it laying around, and I just wanted more power, so it wasn't too much crazy. It's about the same as like a Titan brush Titan with like a 2 or 3S. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it was about that fast, but. Anyway, I put RC 4-wheel drive and shouts to them for making great parts and stuff for monster trucks, crawler stuff, right?
Yeah.
I put crawler links on that thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this thing look great. Oh yeah. And I put the 4mm, with the ones that have the links, with the 4mm screw in them.
Uh-huh.
You have to put the screw in them and then put the link on the end.
Right.
And those links are pretty brittle. And dude, every single time I took those out on these little simple jumps, I broke it just because of the weight and the angles that the truck was at. I broke them every time. I did exactly what you did.
Okay, so
and I'm like,
we were talking about tires the other day, right? Mm-hmm. And I always joke about tires win races. Back to Days of Thunder, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. So tires. We were talking about, the J Concepts style tire or the Proline style tire that's kind of oversized. And then you have like the BKT SMT10 tire. And then the munitions that I run. When I see these big tires that are the J Concept style, I think they look awesome. But I'm just cringing because I feel like the weight and the size of those tires are just annihilating the car.
It's great, man. It's just great. It's great. It's like an extra large pizza. Like you're not gonna eat it, but it's just great to have, right? You can't go wrong, man. It's like you got a full box of cookies. You ain't gonna eat all of them. It's just good to have them. You know what I mean? You can't. If you had the 2.6s, it wouldn't ruin your life. It wouldn't be bad. You'd actually enjoy it. Like to me, I think they're a little bit bigger than
scale.
What actually is scale. I mean, size-wise, they're actually scale. Like if you compare them 10 scale down. But as far as like some of the bodies, they kind of look a little bit oversized. But I think with RC, you kind of have to exaggerate a little bit to kind of give it that look as it's rolling. But no, you're right. You're putting more weight, you're putting more strain and everything, and that's kind of probably why I broke those pieces versus if I would have left the 2.2s on. But then I was just like, well, let me just go with what works. And that's kind of what I changed my whole philosophy. And I kind of followed what the Monster Jam trucks do is they overbuild them. I mean, they got $30,000 axles now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they go overkill on these trucks. So I just went Traxxas. I mean, Traxxas don't break unless you're crazy. Right. You're running 8S. They don't break. So I got Traxxas Revo links, push rod links. How they have the cantilever. I got the push rods for that, and because they have the actual stud on the ends.
Right.
And I got RPM rod ends. Never had one issue ever with that. And that's my standard I go to now. And I tell everybody that's what you got to do if you go 4-link or any truck. You got to do that. Because you're putting so much. You're putting so much like, different angles and with the weight of the tires and just you're putting so much strain and pressure on the components. But I just say overbuild it, man, and and just have fun. You're gonna break stuff, so
what I'm thinking about doing is I'm really on the fence of, and the problem is like some of these cars, not the SMT10, but like. The ground pounder, I don't think it has a really good resale value, right? Because like what I would
it's horrible.
Because like what I would like to do is get rid of that one and then put it into an SMT10, and then my boy can have an SMT10 and I can have mine, and those are pretty. If you don't go too crazy, like I'd probably just on his, I'd probably put a 12-turn brushed motor in it,
on the SMT.
Yeah, and then just run 2S on it, and that'd be totally fine for him. I mean,
it's fast enough. That's what I have in mind. I have the Triton 12-turn with the stock ESC, and I run 2S, and it's fast enough. It's fast enough to get air. So.
Oh yeah, and and I like yesterday we were doing it, and I run 3S 3300 kV in mine, and I was launching it, dude. I mean, it was like crazy. And so I just can't, and he is like, can I have a turn with yours after his broke? And I'm like, no. Like,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, like what I was saying before, most people, because they either don't know or it's just so exciting to just overpower the RC just because you can.
right.
But they don't realize, like, that's like putting a 1,000 horsepower engine in a Miata.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
things are gonna break. Like, it's cool, but it's gonna break
Yeah.
if you overpower it, like, beyond its scale, what it's supposed to do scale wise.
Right,
Like,
right.
I like wheel speed, I like a little bit of air, but for me, like, so I don't have to keep wrenching on it. I get it to where it's fun, and that's it. Like my ground pounder, right? I bought a ground pounder just to try it out.
Uh-huh.
I like it and I don't like it. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing. For the price, it's great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
It's a great intro truck. There's certain things that we talked about it that's on it that I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, why did you do this? Why are the axles 8 miles wide?
Right. Right.
Why do you put 5mm studs on there? Like, you can't even fit a wrench in the thing. It don't make sense.
What's crazy about the ground pounder, I think it's a good gateway drug, right? Because the ground pounder, if you don't modify the ground pounder, it's a pretty good truck.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't break it at all. I don't think we broke it at all. We might have blew up a servo, but I don't think we broke it at all when he was driving it.
Spur gear.
Well, that's when I started putting. Yeah, once I took the motor out and put a different motor in, that's when it started to blow up the spur gear.
Yeah.
But I think if I had left it brushed, because I put what did I put in his? His has a weird motor. His has a 3800 kV, but it's a 540 can.
Yeah.
And I run his on 2S. And it's got a good enough power, but I have the punch set down kind of low for him.
Yeah.
And I think if I had put just the brushed in there running 2S, he probably would have been fine still.
You know what? Honestly, I just bought it. I've been a 2S guy pretty much forever since lipos came out, and the lipos used to scare me.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother thing. But I bought my first 3S battery the other day, and I put it in the ground pounder, stock electronics. It's fun, bro. It's perfect.
Oh yeah, I bet.
3S in the stock ground pounder is perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the acceleration, like the off the rip acceleration. That might just be the gearing, but I can't seem to get the pinion gear. I can't get that off of the. They Loctite that. They Loctite everything on that truck, dude. You can't get anything off. It's so crazy.
I've called them before because I've had problems with. So I think some of their vehicles are not meant to be modified, like deep down in my belly. So like the ground pounder, you would think that now after people have started, cannibalizing those, that they would make it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the ground pounder and the Thunder Drift, both of those cars, I've had hard times trying to get some of those screws out.
They're super glued together.
Dude, it has been ridiculous. Yeah, and so
it's crazy.
I've broken, I've stripped, I've had to cut. Like, it is just impossible, right? And I've called them. I'm like, yo, I couldn't get this off. And I literally took a soldering iron to it to heat it up first. Like, I've done all the tricks. I'm like,
yeah.
Like one of them, it was when I was doing a lot of red cap builds, and I was like, I was kind of hoping, I was like, hey, can you just like send me out another part? Because I just bought, 2 trucks and all this kind of stuff from you guys. Like, help me out here. And they're like, nope, sorry, that's just the way it is. And I'm like, all right. Like,
I was saying earlier, dude, like for the price, it's perfect. It is kind of a gateway. It's almost like a Stampede, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a perfect intro truck, right?
Right.
And it tricks you, though, because it's like got this ladder, it's got this monster truck looking, it has all the elements of what you would want to do if you were to modify a different truck, right?
Right.
It's got aluminum everywhere and all that, but you start getting into the truck and you start to see why it's $250.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
For guys like us that like to change everything, you're like, dude, I'm better off just starting from scratch. Just give me some axles.
Right. Right.
you know,
Yep.
and I'll just start from scratch with something else because by the time you change everything, it's not worth it
Isn't
anymore.
that
And
funny
so,
how the pricing is for stuff right now? So like I've looked 10 times over now because I do a lot of scratch builds, right? So I've looked
yeah,
at like, okay, so say I go and the Wendigo has a new axle that's like an AR-60, which is pretty dope. They're really strong. I mean, I've beaten the snot
yeah,
out of my Wendigo. Haven't broke any axles yet. I do have a clicking. I was going to tear it apart today since it's raining all day.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I do have a clicking in it, so I was going to tear it apart and see what's going on. But I was thinking, well, what if I bought, if I took the frame rails off of the ground pounder, bought the Wendigo axles, did my own four link, but then it's like, what do I use for a transmission? And then by the time you start piecing all this stuff together, I could have had a badass SMT10. It's like,
Well, here's it's funny because that's code. You get into the monster truck thing and you see how easy it is to custom make one, and just the components you need, like you were saying, exactly what you're saying, like those windows. That's why I hit you up the other night asking about the Wendigo because I saw the axles. I'm like, wow, those are actually might be pretty good axles to use as a base.
oh, dude, totally,
on
100%.
a truck. So. But that's kind of like kind of what inspired me to even get the ground pounder because I am working on my own chassis, to be able to do that for people because that was the thing when my Instagram started going and people I want this truck, I want this truck, I want this truck, and these are my these are my trucks,
Right,
I don't want to sell them,
Yep.
but people keep asking like, oh, how do I get your truck? How do I get your truck? Well, you can get SM10, you can get the kit.
Yep.
That's kind of, and then that leads into why I even started my Amazon store is just because I kept getting asked so many questions. I was sending them to Tower Hobbies and A-Main and everywhere else, and I'm like, well, I mean, if I can do it, I keep them in house. They know they can get parts from me. That works out better for me, just because I can lead them in a better direction. They have more direct questions if I can put stuff on the page, and it's works out great. But they had that whole fiasco with the SMT where they discontinued it. So it was kind of like, then I was like, well, how do if SMT isn't reliable to be around, clodbusters are always around, but they're not scale. Ground pounders kind of like, so what do I do, right? You got all these aftermarket AR-60s on the market. You got the hot racing transmissions. You got all the pieces exist out there. Not everybody knows how to put them together,
right?
To where it works functionally and it looks good. That's the other thing. It's got to look cool,
right?
That's the whole thing about monster trucks. They got to look cool. Anybody can piece the stuff together, but does it look cool? So that's kind of what I'm working on that right now is to kind of get a maybe it's not my truck per se. It's just a mutt, but I'll put it together for you. Here you go. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's a hard thing too because it's like trying to find the market, right? Like, does the market push fast all the time? Like, can you sell out of stuff all the time, or does it like push fast maybe 1 quarter and then you're cold 2 quarters?
I don't know, bro. Like, I can't find parts. I mean, besides the bug, I can't find parts to save my life. So I know there's so many people. I mean, if you go on Showtime, Motorsports, YouTube page, and Trigger King and RCMT, and you see all the. I mean, even on Tony's page when he goes to these events, he goes to some of the Showtime events. Dude, all the truck. Look at all these monster trucks. It's like, where there's more monster trucks here than I see at the crawler event.
Right.
That I go to. I'm like, where are they out here? We're out in the Northwest, and you figure guys that like crawling, who don't like monster trucks,
I know.
You can't find them nowhere.
You can't. Yeah.
Like, I cannot find them nowhere. I think I have all the monster trucks in the Northwest. I don't know anybody besides you. I don't know anybody else that got them. It's weird.
I know.
I don't even know. I think I got 5 or 6 of them now. But I want to get guys together and do what those guys do. SoCal Monster Trucks. There's another one in Northern Cali with Trevor. Yeah. I mean, they got a great program. I mean, he does the same thing. He got a chassis. He sells them. Bob C. Chandler, I think is the son of Bob Chandler.
Okay.
He's got an ARCR. He sells his chassis with the Trigger King guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, I know guys that do it. They just don't know that there's a thing to do. It's like the whole drag race thing. You know, I don't want to go on that tangent because we're talking about monster trucks today. But, you know, everybody's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
everybody's jumping on the drag race thing. And I like, you know, my thing with the monster trucks, and we've kind of gone on an RC tip, but the whole monster truck thing was the whole drag race element of it.
Oh, yeah, for
You know,
real,
they got faster and faster and faster, and it was easier to just drag race them over cars.
Yep.
Well, that progressed naturally into, you know, let's set up 2 or 3 ramps, and now it's actually technique because they're going so fast. The actual technique to going over the first set, and you know, picking a good lane versus always the, you know, I love how Gary Porter talks, you know, with that Southern accent, like, you know, the good lane or the bad lane, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and I love the whole good lane, bad lane thing. Like, oh man, you know, you're gonna throw him in the bad lane if he's too slow, if he don't make it, you know. So that whole thing with the monster trucks was like, and like I said, waiting for monster trucks, always NHRA, NASCAR, Baja, motocross. So I'm into that stuff too. I love it, but you know, I actually love watching drag racing. It's weird. It's like, I love watching it, like the Top Fuel and all that, because I would sit there as a kid and pretend like, you know, trying to cut the light, right? And such a dork, man. We're a bunch of basement weirdos, man. At the end of the day, you know, like, we're such a nerd, dude. Just sitting there like pretending like I'm driving it, trying to cut the light. And I love that whole aspect of drag racing. You know, it's all money at the end of the day when it comes to drag racing, but you still got to cut the light and shift good. And you know, as I got older, you know, getting in Hondas and stuff, we'd all go to the track, and that was the thing was, you know, let's drag race front wheel drive cars with 100 horsepower. It's like,
so
that makes sense, but it's like
so with like Trigger King and stuff like them, are they, so everything, you know, everybody's scale, right? So with Trigger King, I remember when they did stadium shows for monster trucks, like the first stuff. Was that, so I think that was 300 feet basically, right? Because that was a tractor pull.
250 to 300 feet. Usually it's like 200 to 300 feet, depending on the fairgrounds.
Right, and then it stretched out, right? So then it went.
No, that's about as big as they got.
Is it?
Yeah. If you go back and watch I mean, there's a lot of. I'm such a nerd. Anytime I start building a truck, I turn on all those old YouTube videos of
dude.
You know,
you'll see it. I've been rolling video like that this entire time in the live stream. So I've been rolling that video, and I've been rolling your video, all that kind of stuff. So right now we got Bigfoot. What is it? Bigfoot 5, and the guy and Kramer's out there walking the tires as it's.
Oh
cruising.
Yeah.
So,
but, it was about 200 to 300 feet, depending on the location.
So do you think RC wise, if it was set up for a 35-foot, or you know, I guess 25 or 30-foot strip, that's enough to do it?
Oh, I've measured it out, bro. I measured it out. Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, like it's weird because like I said, in RC, everything's you kind of have to exaggerate it a little bit to kind of make it kind of feel scale.
Right, because these cars are jumping 4 feet tall.
Quick. It's 25 feet is super quick. You know, it's like boom, boom, you're done.
Right.
You see the Trigger King guys, and they're not. It's way more than 30 feet.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I think you have to just to kind of like increase not only the fun, but to kind of give it the scaleism. Now, for if I was to do videos like that, I would need it, you know, about 20, 30 feet. Because, you know, you do a slow motion in a 15-second video, you know, it takes like 3 minutes to do.
Sure.
You know, it translates into 3 minutes in slow-mo, a 15-second, you know, quick video. You know what I mean? It's like, for scale-wise, if we were like set up a photo shoot, I would say, I would do it like a shorter track. But like if we were to set up like competition or whatever, you know, I think we would try it out. Maybe we'd see how fast like we peak out, you know, with no jumps, you know, how soon the car peaks out, and then we set up the jumps based on how quick the trucks, you know, max out on speed. We'd set them up so that way you're never kind of fully maxed out, but you can kind of. What I would want is to be able to do like they did in the back in the day is, you know, the technique over the first set. making sure you don't over jump it or under jump it.
Right. And you get all
Set,
that torque twist, so you get lined up for the next
yeah,
one. Yeah. No, I get
because
you.
it's always different, and having a good lane and a bad lane, like trying to keep it as even as possible, but making it a technique race instead of just a horsepower race, because that's so boring.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
the horsepower thing is cool, but it's so boring. Like I would want it to be like you gotta clear. Like I wouldn't want there to be a huge or no gap. Like I would want there to be like something that actually you have to clear and grease.
Oh
almost
yeah.
Grease.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That way you have to like it's a technique. It's like racing. Like I didn't know nothing about on-road racing, man. That's the hardest thing, and I wish Jeff was still on here because we could kind of go on a tangent on that. That is one of the most frustrating, hardest things I ever had to learn, to not hit the wall. Oh my gosh, you think it's easy, right? But you got 6 feet. You got to stay in the lines. Like,
yeah,
it's so hard because you feel like you should want to do this, and it does that, and there is a fine line between it.
right.
How much to turn, and I kind of would want to create that same thing with the monster truck setup, is greasing the first jump,
Yep.
and then being able to do it to a point where you're not all over the place and going into the other guy's lane. Because I see that a lot on the on these RCs. The tracks are so big and so wide open, you have a lot of room for error.
And the other thing that's tough about that is that you have the manufactured jumps, right? You don't have like the real dirt jumps. Well, you do in some of the Trigger King stuff, but like the real true dirt jumps, that's why it was
changed the whole time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so our track at home, if we're running hard for a couple hours, we'll get ruts, and we'll see where all the where the cars have been running, and we're not doing like straight line, trying to stay a line kind of a thing. So it doesn't affect.
I think that's the dynamic of it, though. Like
I
know Trigger King is they're outside now. They're doing a lot of outside dirt stuff, but they still use the. I think there's a way to use those or use that thing, and like I said, if you just have it set up to where if you go mash full throttle and you see how far the truck jumps, set the end of the car, the first set of cars right there. That way you really have to, like, even if you go full throttle, you might not make it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Depending, so I think if you do stuff like that, it makes you drive. It makes you drive. And then if you condense the lane, like make it not as wide. Yeah. Kind of like, on-road racing. If you got a big, wide open lane, it's easier to not drive as precise. So if you condense the lane a little bit, like I see that a lot with the drag racing. The lanes are too wide. That's not scale.
Right.
You need to make them narrower and make it to where if you screw up, you're hitting the sidewall. That's part of the whole thing with drag racing. Is like if they had no walls, people would just do whatever, But that's the whole element, is hitting the light and keeping it straight. Yeah. So to me, it's like I think if I was to do it and set up a whole racing situation over here, with our weather, it kind of is like it would be seasonal, but
sure,
unless we found somewhere indoor. But it would be grease the first jump and then keep the lanes narrow to where it's like, and then obviously spec them out. They got a spec racing in Trigger King. They run 17.5 brush in the sport mod, to kind of keep them slower, to keep them more, even,
right?
What I mean, and more controllable. And then they got the the crazy mod ones, where to me it's just like having a 8,000 horsepower monster truck, in real life. It's like not even, but it's still fun to watch. It's still awesome. I was thinking even having, like, I don't know if you've seen my slash conversion. I made a monster truck out of a slash.
Yep.
And even having that class, a 10 scale independent suspension monster truck class, and then having an actual, like, an X Max class.
That's
crazy. What I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how awesome would that be?
That's crazy.
X Max class, like, that'd be. I mean, they'd tear the jumps up, but you know what I mean. Like, that'd be super cool.
So let's kind of change directions a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we're getting kind of long, but I want.
There's
one thing that you've touched on a couple times that I know I've struggled with, and Jeff and I have talked about it before. How do we make this hobby less nerdy, right? So like, so like for instance, so like I watch the Trigger King guys, and I love watching them. That's so Trigger King and RC Sparks and Tony, and there's a few other ones that I watched before we kind of dove in.
Yeah.
Those were the ones I was watching, but then after I started playing with them, I started realizing, these are guys like just out in their sweats, like in an arena playing.
Bro,
you know what I mean?
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. Like I listen. We're at the end of the day, we're a bunch of dads trying to enjoy our life, right?
I know.
We're trying to escape. That's all we're trying to do, man.
But I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to change that like dad hat stigma, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
I think, in my opinion, and me and my friend came up with this term, because it just was funny at the time. But I I put it on myself because I know how much of a nerd I am when it comes to this. I'm a geek. I'm a full-grown adult playing with toys. Come on, man.
Right.
Like
it's like that meme.
Let's break it down to the nucleus.
Well,
we are nerds. We're not gonna unnerd this thing. We're
it's like that.
Nerds.
It's that meme that says a scale garage is just a dollhouse for men. So
it is. We're playing. We are literally playing with Barbies, the car version. And so, how do you unnerd that?
Right.
I don't think you can. You just don't be gross.
Right.
You take a shower, shave, look nice. And,
right.
Wear a fresh set of clothes.
Well,
right?
see, what the thing is,
and don't talk about everything going on in your basement.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
okay.
I don't know what else you could do. We're all a bunch of basement weirdos. That's it.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I can go to a drag race. I can go to a car show, one-to-one style. I don't feel nerdy there. And maybe it's just because once you get to like, Good Guys Car Show and you got your classic truck there, you're like, you've kind of made it. Maybe RC cars are still.
Man,
I don't know.
No, those are the biggest nerds in the world, man. The
you
car
think
guys,
so?
we're a bunch of nerds, man. We're a bunch of wrench head car nerds, man. We know everything about everything about a nut and bolt. We're the biggest nerds there is, man.
I think here's the thing. I think if you go to a car show, you got chicks. You know what I mean? The chicks dig the cars.
Well, okay.
You go to an RC car thing, it's like, sausage fest. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I have a funny story about that. Me and my buddy kind of got me into racing, and we're car guys, so we do the car show thing, and we play basketball, and we do all those things that is. I don't know. We do fun stuff. I'll just call it that. We do fun stuff, right?
Right.
And we got into RC because we're nerds. We're geeks. We love cars. We like to see how they go, like the engineering of them, the whole build them and see how they work, kind of thing, you know. And then the whole racing thing is like, oh, it's a wrap.
Right.
I love racing, so let's go. And we'd see guys bring their girlfriends and their wives to the racetrack, and the racetrack is the absolute worst place you can take your girl. I don't care if she's been with you for 20 years or 20 minutes. It is the worst place you could take your girl. And anybody that's watching this or seeing this YouTube afterwards, put in the comments, everybody's got a story.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't, you're just clueless. You have no idea. You're the guy.
Okay,
bringing your girl and thinking everything's okay. It is the most, to see their face, it is the funniest thing. The torture on their face. Like, what am I doing here? What is going on? What is going on?
Well, and you know what I think what takes away a little bit from us when we get them in that environment is that it actually puts a little heat on us to rush things, right? Because we see that angst on their face, and we're like, they're clearly not having as much fun as I am, so I'm trying to rush things, And it's like, that's kind of how it was when we first started RC stuff, and, me and the kids would be out playing. I'd see my wife kind of like in the corner on her phone, kind of a thing, So it's like,
yeah.
So I'm like,
gosh.
You know what? You know how I could get away from that? Build a track, right? So it's like I build a track, then we can go out in the backyard. My wife can do whatever she wants, watch whatever she wants, and we're just going to be playing. You know what I mean? And we're still at home.
Yep.
So it's like, that was kind of my answer to that. I'm trying to, I don't think I'm trying, but it'd be cool if I could get her involved in actually doing some RCing, but I think that's a long stretch, man.
maybe the whole mini, the 24 scale might work. Having something in the house is easy access. That
Yeah,
the challenge of it as almost like
nah.
treat it like a game board. You know what I mean?
Yeah, see, I don't think she'd be into that. She's
No.
too smart.
Hey
and
man,
too
you're
cool
into
for
it or you're
that.
not. It just if people ain't into it, more for me, right?
I
Like
know.
that's how it goes.
I
My wife,
know.
and my kid's not into it, and it's like I feel like the biggest geek in here, painting bodies and trimming stuff out and on the
Oh
floor,
yeah.
making a mess, and
Yep. Yep.
being 6 years old. It's
See,
like,
I think
hey,
that's
it's my
the
thing. It's just
yeah.
my thing. It
Well,
keeps me sane.
I keep on going back to that, and back in the day, I used to watch. We'd watch movies and whatnot, and they'd have the dad up in the attic painting his toy soldiers. Right, that was the thing
Yeah.
for that generation, and these are like my toy soldiers, right? So like
Bro,
I have
that's what it is.
I have a workbench downstairs. It's all set up. And that's what I do. I sit down there and we grind it out. But I think, I just want to find some way of it being
To make it cool.
to make it cool. Because like I have some ideas. I really, really wanted to start an indoor place. Oh, so bad.
Yeah.
Like so bad. Because I have.
I think that's everybody's dream, bro. Like,
Well,
I really do. Like,
the thing is, like, I have the chops to make it look and play dope, right? Because I can make
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
environment, and I know how
Yeah.
to make an environment that way because I do it for a living, right? I make
Sure. No, I get you.
I design bars, I design youth
It would
areas
be like
for churches.
it would be like an RC mini golf situation.
Oh, bro, I actually came up with a game that would be just like that. And
Yeah.
I am like, if someone was like, hey, I want to invest in this, I'm going to rent the space and let's split the
Yeah.
profits, I'd be like, done. Like, I would,
Yeah.
oh, dude,
Yeah.
and I know, aside from this whole COVID crap, I know we would crush it because I know how to. We've got the marketing chops, we've got the stuff to build, the fun stuff, where it'd be
Yeah.
a full-on RC playground. I mean, for real. Like, I know how, after playing in my backyard and going to certain tracks and stuff, I know how I could build a
Sure.
track that would intertwine with each other. Yes, you'd have
Yeah,
your
yeah.
hardcore racing track or whatever, but I don't think that's what I would want to do. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. I don't even know that I would. If I had the space, I would love to hold like real races, but
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to do that. I know that's where a lot of
There's
money
enough.
would be.
There's enough other stuff out there that I don't think we need another track. I think we need something that hasn't been done. If you were to do something
Well,
like that, and,
the thing.
I mean, to answer your question though, is trying to like even if you did that and did it exactly how you thought in your brain and envision and all that, whatever. Guess who's showing up? All the basement weirdos.
Yeah,
So
so
you're never gonna make it cool, bro. It's just not.
no.
designed to
So
do.
here's the thing. I think I'm gonna do it where I make this themed, timed elements, so that, like, for instance, a company could say, I'm going to go and rent out these cars and we're going to have this experience in the Jurassic Park track. And then they're going to go and do this game that I designed and all that kind of stuff in the Jurassic Park track. I think that's going to be kind of the element. And then have like a little small cafe style, so people can go and, or they rent out the space and they have, booze and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's the kind of thing where I think it would be fun, because it'd be like, being in the automotive vein, when a shop takes you out to a go-kart track and you guys get to have dinner and all that, even if people have never driven go-kart tracks, everyone has fun, right? And so this would be the same kind of thing. So like what I'm thinking is, if I had like a racetrack, dirt track on top of this, I actually wouldn't want it to be just for racing, because I think there's a market out there for guys like me and you and other people that would love to get on a racetrack, that just want to play, that don't want to be around the serious guys that are like, it would be structured that way where like, yo, you can come out and play if you're serious, but you're not the guy I want on the track. I want the guys on the track that are like having a lot of fun, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. I think that would be so dope. And then that would bring kind of like that cool element and bring people's guards down so they can play. So, I see Jeff just lined in. So
Is he back on?
Oh yeah. Well, he's not on, but he's on the he's popping in the comments. So
Oh, okay. Um, no, that would be awesome, man. To be honest, I mean, I've been doing RC since RC. I don't even know. I don't even remember when I first got my first one.
right.
Um, which I'm so mad that he had to leave. Not really, but I know he's got family stuff. But he posted in his stories a picture of the JRXT. That was actually my first hobby grade RC.
Oh yeah. That.
I love that. Oh man, he posted. I was like, oh dang, that was one of my first, hobby grade. And what's crazy about that, I never got it running. I never got electronics in it. I just had it.
Right. Right. Yep. No, I know
So,
that feeling. I know that
no,
feeling
that
for
would be
sure.
dope. But for me, it's like with the monster truck thing. It's like I know guys crawl out here. I've been to the events.
Yeah.
There's a ton of guys out here. I brought a few of my I brought Wildfoot out to before the whole shutdown, out to one of the competitions, and I got some comments and some questions and stuff like that, and people were they were open to it. They weren't like going crazy for it, which is
Sure.
it's fine. You're either into it or not. But I know Justin that runs WIRCR. There's so many RCR.
Oh,
It's in that name. I don't,
War CRC.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, he was into it, and he wanted to do a feature on one of the trucks, and then we had the shutdown. So,
Right.
um,
Right.
but I know guys, will be guys can do it, and I think if there's an opportunity for the racing portion of it, and just getting together, maybe not make it serious, but I think that when it comes to competition and racing, that is the fun of it, is
Right,
trying to
right.
beat the other guy and trying to prove that you got the better setup and you got the better truck. And ego does get involved, and that's one thing I guess you get wrapped up before you get good at it in on-road racing. You get wrapped up in the whole ego and the racing part of it,
Right.
and you're not even good enough to compete. So it's like it's so frustrating. That's what's
Yeah.
frustrating. It's like you feel like your ego is gonna make you better at driving, but really you got to chill out and actually have fun.
Right.
And
Right.
that's when you get the good reps in that make you better.
Sure.
And once I did that and started having fun, and I think it just come through as far as making it cool. Just have fun. Don't take it seriously. We're a bunch of old dudes playing with toys. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like, stop making it crazy.
Right.
Like, you're not, unless you're getting a paycheck from J Concept or Associated or so, you're getting a paycheck and it's a big paycheck, and what are you doing?
Right. Right.
You know what
yeah.
I mean? You're paying to do this, so calm down. It's not a big deal. We're playing man Barbies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
Stop.
I feel you. I feel you. Well, I think on that note, we should probably shut it down a little bit, man. We've been on this now for an hour and a half, which
Bro,
is...
we didn't even get into the monster trucks. That's crazy.
I know. We got just a little bit. So we'll have you on again next time when Jeff's around, and
Yeah.
we'll go from there. I'm gonna run this outro. Hey, I wanted to say thanks to having you on, Jeff.
Oh, man,
thanks
it was-
for getting on too. I know you're watching, but we'll get this back together. And why don't you kind of shout out what your handle is and all that kind of stuff, so people can go and check it out.
Yep. No, it's KLN RC Cars on
Mhm.
Instagram. I'm on Instagram. That's like my main thing. I have a YouTube. You can go follow that if you want, but I haven't really posted anything on there.
Sure.
But go follow anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
And if you go on the Instagram, there's an Amazon page that's connected there. If you need anything RC, I built this Amazon page to kind of cater to monster trucks and a little bit of crawling.
Yeah.
Whatever I can I have available as far as parts on Amazon, I can post on there. So if anybody has any requests or anything they want to see on the page that they need, obviously support your local hobby shops and your people that are supporting you, support them. But just so you know, it's up there. It's a monster truck store. So you got any monster truck needs, go there, and support everybody that you think is cool, man. I mean, support Amigo, support O Canada, and just, do the whole YouTube. Go subscribe and, support and follow, man. Do all that stuff. It sounds corny, but it's important because it really pumps us up to keep going. It really does. So that's it. Just go to the KLN RC Cars Instagram and really leave comments, man. I love interacting with everybody on the posts. I've been really bad lately on posting consistently, but I'm getting back into it. I'm building more trucks, and I got, as you can see, I got that new Carolina Crusher on there.
Oh yeah.
I had a big request for that. Even Ryan Anderson told me to build it. I said, hey, which one do you want? Do you want the you want the Son of a Digger or the Carolina Crusher? He's like, dude, you got to do the Crusher. I was like, all right, here we go. But no, the comments I love the comments. I love interacting with people, and I try to get back as soon as I can. If I get a flood of them, I at least like the comments. So anyway,
right.
I'm rambling now, but we got to do this again and talk more monster trucks, and maybe it's good we didn't go so far, so we can get Jeff in here and kind of get him in on the monster truck stuff too. So and like I said, I'm always available. You want to do this 30 times, it's all good, man. we can do as many times you want. I don't care. This is cool. I love it.
Right on.
It's a great podcast. So thanks for having me on, and I look forward to doing it again, man.
Awesome, brother. Well, yeah, like I said, thanks again for coming on. And like the screen says, like, subscribe, follow O Canada RC, follow KLN RC Cars, and RC Amigos, all that kind of stuff. And let's keep this thing going, guys. Have fun RCing, and we'll see it next time. And for that, I'm gonna leave a little below for our coming out.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write
See you
it.
guys.
Do it live.
All right, man. Take it easy.
And things suck.
All right.
All right. Have a good one, man. Thanks a lot. I'll
All right,
catch
you
you
too,
soon.
man.
Later.
All right. Bye.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today.